Hi, I'm Christina Haganey, President of Valor Payroll Solutions, and we help small business owners with their payroll. So a lot of times we work with small business owners who are getting ready to hire their first employee or process their first payroll. And one of the big things that gets asked is, how often should I pay my employees? And first, we have to look at regulations. So states will often mandate how often you have to pay employees, and a lot of times they will have different rules for exempt and non-exempt employees. So the first thing that you need to do before you start going down the path of any pay frequency is to make sure that you're going to be in compliance with the state regulations where you have workers. So once you figure that out, now you have your available options. A lot of times monthly payroll will not be in compliance with state rules, especially if you have non-exempt employees. But the two pay frequencies that are usually accepted by any state are biweekly and semi-monthly. So these two pay frequencies often get mixed up, and there are some misconceptions about which is better and why. When it comes to a bi-weekly pay frequency, this means employees are getting paid every 14 days. So for example, if you pay on Friday, employees will get paid the following 2 Fridays, so every other Friday. You don't have to pay on Fridays, that's a popular pay date, but there's no rule that you have to pay on any certain day of the week. When it comes to payroll, it's just usually easier to pay on a Friday because you can have the pay period end over the weekend, usually Saturday or Sunday, and then you have the first few days of the week to get everything together and get your payroll submitted. So another suggestion, pay in arrears, but we'll get to that in a minute. So getting paid every other Friday, for example, makes it easy for you as the business owner to keep track of when payroll is due. If your payroll is due on Tuesday to get paid on Friday, you know that every other Tuesday you have to get payroll submitted. In addition, your employees know when they're going to get paid, and you don't have to worry about the dates going around and around like it does in semi-monthly. The bi-weekly pay period also will always encompass 2 full work weeks. So when you're thinking about non-exempt employees and calculating overtime hours, this makes it very simple. You have 2 full work weeks to look at within that pay period, and you're not having the pay period span between pay dates. Now, one of the biggest drawbacks of a biweekly pay frequency is that it doesn't align with accounting periods, but usually we're working with small business owners and this is not an issue for them. Now with larger corporations, when you have to do all the math to get how much of this payroll goes into this month and how much of this goes into next, that can be quite a challenge. But if you're a small business owner, usually you're not doing those entries into your bookkeeping system, and it should be a non-issue for you. On the other hand, while semi-monthly usually sounds like the simplest option, people think, oh, we'll pay on the 1st and the 15th, easy peasy. But it's not. So first of all, the semi-monthly pay dates, although you choose the 1st and the 15th, for example, will get moved around depending on if those pay dates fall on weekends or holidays. So if your pay date is on the 15th, which is a Saturday, now you have to decide if you're going to pay on the prior Friday or on the following Monday. And of course, there's rules about that as well. Some states will allow you to pay the business day after the pay date, others will not. So you have some research to do if you're going to be using a semi-monthly pay frequency. Another thing that happens that business owners don't really understand until they start doing it is that your payroll, if it's due 3 business days before the pay date, for example, that could be 3 calendar days. If your pay date falls on a Friday, you submit Tuesday. But if that pay date falls on a Monday, now you're backing it up into Wednesday of the previous week to submit payroll. So again, talking about paying in arrears, when you use that biweekly pay frequency, usually you still have about a 5-day window. The pay period might end Saturday or Sunday to pay on Friday. With a semi-monthly pay frequency, if you're required to give your payroll provider 3 business days, I always suggest doing 7 calendar days between the pay period end date and the pay date. That will give you those 3 business days for processing, plus additional time for weekends and holidays, because those are going to come up throughout the year. Now, of course, the benefit of the semi-monthly pay frequency is that it usually aligns very well with an accounting period. You just make the pay periods the 1st through the 15th, the 16th through the end of the month, for example. But again, it's not that easy to keep track of when payroll is due, and you may get questions from your employees on when they will be paid, because even though it's the 1st and the 15th, that pay date is going to jump around when you have weekends and holidays. When it comes to benefit deductions, whether you're using semi-monthly or bi-weekly, I suggest doing 24 deductions per year. That way you still have the same number of deductions each month, even on a bi-weekly pay frequency, which makes it easier to reconcile if you have employees who are terminating or enrolling in your benefit plans. With the semi-monthly pay frequency, another thing that can get a little bit complicated, or at least hard to explain to your employees, is prorating salaries when an employee is a new hire or is being terminated. So with a semi-monthly pay frequency, salaried employees will be paid 86.67 hours per pay period, but that pay period may encompass 10, 11, or 12 work days. So they're being paid the same amount, even though the number of days that they're actually working is fluctuating from one pay period to the other. With the bi-weekly pay frequency, salaried employees are getting paid 80 hours per pay period, but that will always cover 10 work days. So it makes it very easy if an employee is off or a new hire or termination. You can just use a flat 8 hours per day and prorate the salary that way. With a semi-monthly, you have several options on how to prorate those salaries, but you do need to use the same method every time you have that come up. So the way that we like to do it is the total number of days worked in the pay period divided by the total number of work days in the pay period, and then multiply that by your 86.67 hours or by your pay period salary amount. If you don't have employees coming or going a lot, of course, this may not be a huge issue for you, but it is definitely something to keep in mind. Bi-weekly, by far, is my number one choice for small business owners. And again, that is because you know when payroll's due, employees are getting paid every other, whatever day of the week. You can still accommodate those benefits by doing 24 rather than 26 deductions per year. And every single pay period is going to encompass 2 full work weeks. So this makes it easy for your non-exempt employees when you need to calculate overtime, but also makes it easy for your exempt and salaried employees because you don't have to do any fancy calculations when you're prorating their check. So again, there's no right or wrong way here, but a lot of times business owners who haven't processed payroll just don't really understand the implications of setting up a semi-monthly pay frequency. So bi-weekly is my suggestion. Again, not the best fit for everybody, but those are our reasons why. If you're a small business owner and you're getting ready to process your first payroll, we'd love to help you out. You can reach out to us online at valorpayrollsolutions.com, and don't forget to subscribe.